everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! The off-season's almost done edition.
Yes, the offseason is almost done. Let's go. So ready for NBA training camps to be here and the new season to be underway. I am fired up on this Friday. Keith, I can't wait to talk NBA basketball with you. This is going to be a great day because the NBA is almost here.
We're almost there. We're so close. We got training camps opening next week for, I believe it's 5 teams. Do I have that correct? It's the Nets, Knicks, Sixers, Pelicans, and Suns. 5 teams that are headed overseas for at least a portion of the preseason. So they open up next week. We're roughly a week and a half-ish out from, or I guess almost 2 weeks out from the first preseason game tipping off on Thursday the 2nd. So we're getting there. We're almost there.
We are almost there. It's almost time for the NBA to get rolling again. I'm so ready for it. Beyond ready, fired up edition of Front Office Friday right here. Get your questions and comments in. Those are joining from YouTube, coming in from X. Throw us your questions, your comments. We'll be addressing them over the next 40-ish minutes or so. Mando asking, team power rankings. We actually did a tier breakdown for each conference, and you can find that on the NBA Front Office YouTube channel, as well as the podcast feed if you're interested in hearing how we see each conference breaking down. So that's there. We haven't done specific power rankings. Maybe that's something we'll throw in, post preseason as we get ready for the regular season or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do some version of that when we get into predictions and all that sort of stuff as well. But check out those tiers because that approximately is what you're looking for. We just did it by conference, East and West, and we were there's a shock to none. We were on fairly the same page with most of the teams, a little bit more separated, I think.
We did have a few.
But for sure. Help and check that out.
All right, let's start here. Could someone tell me about NBA Europe, please? Keith, that's been getting a little bit more buzz and sounding more like it's a real thing that's going to be coming, not like tomorrow, but sooner rather than later.
Yeah, sometime within the next couple of years, it sounds like, whether it's the 26-27 season, 27-28 season, somewhere in that range is when it seems like it'll be there. I think it is, in this position, this is a way for the NBA to continue to expand their worldwide reach. That's what they want. That was a big part of Basketball Africa League, was to be kind of, I don't want to say first in Africa to create a league, because there were certainly leagues in Africa prior to the NBA, but first of the 4 pro sports in North America to create a full-on league in Africa, and that's what they've done. And we've seen a handful of players make their way through, whether it be academies in Africa or through the Basketball Africa League to the NBA. European basketball, obviously far more established with leagues and teams that have been powerhouses for years. I think the important thing here is there seem to be at least a handful of the traditional European powers that are interested in being involved in this with the NBA, both basketball teams that already exist, as well as a handful of soccer clubs that sound willing to make an investment into this, into the basketball side, which makes this really interesting. It's just going to be another worldwide league that's going to be out there that the NBA will be involved in.
Keith, we've been talking over the last couple of days about, how surprising it is that, say, a player like Malcolm Brogdon is finding himself on a training camp invite with the Knicks. Could we see a scenario where players who kind of end up on the fringes in the NBA wind up with a kind of a clear funnel over into this NBA Europe League? Could this open up more job opportunities for NBA guys, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think so. I think, that'll be to be determined what that looks like, as well as what does the future of the G League look like? Are we going to see more guys go to, we'll just continue to call it NBA Europe for lack of a better name, but are they going to do that? Or are they going to go to a spot where, they'd rather be in the G League and be a little bit closer to the teams? What does that look like? I think some of that will depend obviously on money. How does that come together. And then what is the competition like? If the competition is really strong, if it is, let's say a notch below the Euro League, well, then there'll probably be guys who'd be interested, especially those veteran guys who maybe don't necessarily want to be in the G League and are looking, hey, yeah, I'll go over and play overseas, but still attached to the NBA. Sure. And then what those kind of contracts allow for when they put all this into play. Is there something that is a little bit more, hey, an NBA opportunity, an NBA out is a standard thing in a contract within NBA Europe? Is that, how that looks? Because in today's world, it isn't that way. We found that out with Isak Bonga.
Right.
A lot of people were like, hey, could he make another run at the NBA? And we found out he doesn't have an NBA out in his deal for this upcoming season. So he's got one more year in Europe at least, and then we'll see if he makes another run at the NBA. Sometimes they don't have that, so they'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how all that ultimately plays out. Do we see that kind of standard language in there that a player could, if there's NBA interest, could end up getting out of that contract? Is there? Could we see, Keith? Could we see even a soccer style system where players go on loan? that might be interesting.
Sure. I mean, that's going to be like a much further down the line
absolutely.
thing if we're going to see that, and that's going to be collectively bargained and everything else. But I wouldn't rule it out down the line if that's kind of where folks want this to go. I think it'll be very much like if they do go that route, very much like the way it works in FIFA, where it is the two teams can agree on a transfer, but the player has the ability to then also has to agree. You can't just, out and out trade a guy. I know you can sometimes, but I don't think it'll be similar to the NBA where there's a no trade clause is the only way to block a trade. I think there'll be some version of the NBA, NBA players, if they're being sent it's one thing to be sent from Boston to Los Angeles. It's a whole other thing to be sent from Boston to Italy and told, hey, you're not even going to live in the United States while you play anymore. That's a whole other thing.
All right, let's go here. Appreciate the super chat. Front Office Friday. Get ready for the start of the season. Go Lake Show.
Yeah, well, let's go was to the middle part of that, not the end.
I assumed. We assumed that was the case there, Keith. Jay Rod said, how are we feeling about Dalton Connect and a second-round pick for Champagny?
Which Champagny is this?
Yeah,
I have not seen this.
Right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any rumor or anything about this.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything rumored either. Yeah. I mean, there's two. So, and they both make roughly the same kind of money.
Yeah.
Both are good players. So, let us know, J-Rod. Let us know which Champagny you're thinking about. And then we can answer that a little bit different.
All right.
I mean, I don't. Either one. Sure. Why not, I guess.
Keith, we have a lot of comments, people asking about what's going to happen with the Kawhi Leonard situation.
Sure.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off here. Do you think Silver will actually do something? His legacy is on the line. He'll be known as the guy who either dropped the hammer or is absolutely soft and does a slap on the wrist. I think it's a really interesting dynamic because people look at it as though, Steve Ballmer and the Clippers work for Adam Silver, and it's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
And so that's where this whole situation gets fascinating and how the league is going to handle this. And I think that my belief is that if the burden of proof is met, whatever that is, and I don't know exactly what that is, but whatever the burden of proof is, if that is met, and there are some fans right now that will tell you it's already been happened, it's already done, It's happened, right? Pablo Torre met that. But if that is met, I think the NBA needs to set the precedent here and come in strong with whatever the punishment would be. But again, it's a big if, and that investigation is still ongoing.
Yeah, and I will say I have been on the side of none of this passes the smell test. Like, this all looks bad for the Clippers. Yeah. I 100% believe that they have – this looks shady, and that's at the very minimal. It looks bad. It may very well be proven to actually be bad. We'll see what they find out. But I will also say there is just this immediate rush. The way it is supposed to work, and I've said this over and over, this is not a court of law, right? This is the NBA's rules. And some of these are collectively bargained rules. Some of these are bylaws and in the NBA Constitution. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't work exactly the way it is in the court of law, but it does work the same way in that you're innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around.
Right.
And in all facets of life now, it feels like we've turned it the other way. You're guilty, and then you better prove your innocence. And the number of times that we see across things in the world where people then come on and are like, yeah, you know what, man, we rushed to judgment on that, and that was wrong. And not to say there's not times when it isn't exactly what it looks like, and it was just as bad. You just got to be careful, and that's why, because somebody said Spot Track reporting, and let's be very clear, it was not Spot Track that reported that this won't be wrapped up until after the All-Star break. That was out there by multiple other outlets first. That was just Mike, Mike's whose picture you see on the Spot Track account, and does most of the tweeting from the account. Mike was very clear, just sharing that reporting there. But yeah, it's not going to be resolved but in the next 2 weeks before camp and preseason opens. It's not going to be resolved before the season starts. It's probably not going to be resolved before the All-Star break, because what the NBA is going to want to do here is be extremely thorough in the investigation they've done. Now, what is very interesting is Pablo Torre can't compel anybody to give him anything. Like, he cannot say, you must give me your phone records, your email records, all those things, where the NBA can do that. The NBA can tell the Clippers, we want everything on this. Every communication you've had with these people, we want all of it, and that can be done. So there's going to be a lot more to come, I think, as we get deeper into this.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously a story that has been, captivating NBA audiences right now. I don't think it's coming to a conclusion anytime soon, but it feels like every other day there's some new bombshell piece of information that comes out, and it keeps looking worse and worse. But I like that you cautioned that, hey, there's, you didn't use this phrase, but there's two sides to every story. And the Clippers will have a chance to defend themselves. I'm still, was disappointed that when given the opportunity to prove that, publicly that everything was false, we just heard a lot of I don't knows from Steve Ballmer. I got conned, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't another defense out there for the Clippers. So we'll see how it all plays out. But let's say the burden of proof is met. Are you with me that you think that the hammer will be dropped?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people with teams over the last, now I think we're 3 weeks into this, almost 4 weeks now. I have talked with a lot of people with teams who were like, yeah, it's hard because, yes, everybody understood the side of this of, like, does anybody want them digging into their closet as well and seeing what they dig up? But the reality is more teams are going to be like, no, you can't have this. We cannot have players being paid by teams outside of what the rules are to pay players. So I think they are very in a position where they are going to, hammer this. So we'll see. We got a YKB, which I can only assume stands for ball. It does, at least in my mind. Yeah. Thoughts on Silver hinting at a rule change rather than an LAC punishment? Absolutely. You can't change the rules after the fact.
And when did
you may?
Did I miss something?
But yeah, I didn't see him hint at that either. I know he so Adam Silver basically said, I don't know anything about this. And I think that was there we go.
It does mean ball.
I think Adam Silver both for good and bad. We love the good part because he's extremely candid. Yeah. And he will speak off the cuff, which we really like, because we don't want everything being basically, instead of directly reading you a prepared statement, I'm speaking from a prepared statement, because that just gets boring, right? And we don't want that. But I think he at times will say things off the cuff that then people take as gospel. And I think when he said, I don't know anything about this agreement between Kawhi and the group, I think he was more saying, like, look, guys, I didn't read every line of their contract. Like, because that's not his job to do that anyway. He did then clarify, I think it was the very next day or within a couple of days. Yes, I was aware of it, but like nothing at the time said, well, we got to dig deeper into this, because I don't think anybody knew Kawhi needs to do nothing to collect this money and the timing of payments and all these other things. That's where I think now you're going to start seeing a lot more cautious, guarded language whenever this is addressed of, hey, we're going to let the investigation play out. And we'll go from there.
Now, Adam Silver, you mentioned him speaking off the cuff, did have some comments after the Board of Governors meeting that got a lot of traction about, I'm obviously paraphrasing, but about, well, fans who, aren't paying for the streaming and stuff can watch the highlights. Do you chalk that up to just speaking off the cuff, and that was just a slip up on his part?
To some extent, and also the quote got cut off because he did say, like, we want people watching games.
Yeah.
But I think he was leading to, which we've heard him say it before, is the NBA is, I can't say this with all certainty, but definitely more than the NFL and more than Major League Baseball, is pretty good about letting people have access to their stuff.
Yeah.
They don't come down too hard on people posting clips on social media of plays and all those things. And now they
benefit from it.
Yeah, exactly. Now with various technology, like I can't tell you how many times like you or I have both done the same thing. We're like, holy crap, what a play by, player X.
Right.
And then within 30 or 40 seconds, the play is posted on social media. And people are getting better and better at posting like high quality. It's no longer like, I rewound my TV and recorded it with my phone and uploaded that.
I used to do that like 10 years ago. Remember Vine? I used to do that on Vine.
For sure. Yep. And like the NBA absolutely benefits from that. So I think he's walking a fine line of like, hey, a lot of people do consume our game through this. But he was clear, we want people watching the games. And he also did say there are more games that are going to be available free than ever, because you replaced TNT, who is a cable network, with NBC, who is a free over-the-air network. All you have to do is have an antenna to get NBC. And the cool thing with NBC is they have opening night. You've not seen opening night broadcasts for everyone to watch if they didn't have cable. And I don't know how many years, probably 20 or more since TNT's had it. So I think they're going to be in a really interesting place to look at this where, all right, there are going to be more games. But yes, if you're like me and you, and you're going to have every service, it is getting pretty expensive to have all of it.
What's funny is, but I have to dig into, it's on my lengthy to-do list as we're getting ready for the season, like the whole like Disney, ESPN, Hulu package and everything, and see if that makes sense and all that. But we're getting to a point where it's like you have to have so many different streaming services. We're basically back to cable all over again.
Someone should just bundle them all together.
Exactly.
Put it in a box.
It'd be great if they bundled them all together and it could just be like brought to your house via a cord or something like that.
A cable into a box. Yeah.
Exactly.
I hear you. It's funny. I used to laugh at those commercials where it was it's those like, hey, do you have this app? You're paying for 5 services you didn't even know you have, until like I've realized like we had a couple of those, and I was like, you just forget because it's like a one-time per year charge, and then we just kind of go. So it's really tough with that. So, but yeah. Let's go. I just wanted one more quick thing before we get to Steven's comment. Adam, so there was also a whole thing about expansion, not just Europe, and he was very clear. It's not slowing down NBA expansion. Like they're being done side by side, and they are moving together. So that is, that is really good news. Now he didn't say NBA expansion's coming, or he just said, hey, we're working on it. And kind of going. So if anybody starts hearing our dogs have been freaking full of it all day today. From the moment we woke up, they have been tearing through the house like absolute maniacs, like jumping over, knocking furniture over. Like I don't know what's going on.
Something's coming in the weather. That's usually what maybe. As I just had, as you were saying that, thunder just rolled over my head here.
Good times.
Steven said, Keith, you were mentioned on Locked On Hornets for your summer league. Go Hornets. Keith, I will admit, I don't understand how you publish that notebook of all the different people you talked to when you were at Sports Business Classroom for like 14 hours a day. I don't know how you found the time. At this point, I'm convinced you've cloned yourself. That's the only
let me hand up. I spent all that time in Las Vegas. I watched 0 minutes of basketball on the court live in the gym. I never made it into the gym, either one of the gyms the entire time. Now I watched everything I felt like I needed to see after and in the evenings in my hotel room and in the mornings. The two things. Everybody's around the concourse. So
Yes.
like I would go up to the concourse whenever I had a chance. And part of, if you want to do that part of it, part of what you have to do is somebody will give you 2 minutes. You take 2 minutes and you try to make them as valuable as you can get them.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to people about different stuff. The other part that was really cool was we had just tons and tons of NBA people from every team coming through Sports Business Classroom all day,
Yes.
every day, sometimes just poking their head in, sometimes just saying, hello, sometimes popping in and seeing stuff. So yeah, and then, yeah, it's just then there's a lot of, hey, want to grab coffee? Want to do this? I don't drink, so there's not a lot of grab a beer, but I'll go and have a water or a lemonade or a Coke while I hang out. And
I did some drinking for you, Keith. I did some
you
for me,
and
then I dipped into your allotment as well. So don't worry, we were covered.
All right, perfect.
We were covered on that front.
Perfect.
Donnie, what's up, man? Thanks for checking in. Your dogs have the zoomies.
Yeah, I thought that said zombies, and I was like, wait, is this about Marvel zombies? I have not watched it. So.
I have not watched that either. I was too busy watching getting all caught up on Gen V last night. That was
yeah, I'm way behind. I don't think I'm either a season or two behind on The Boys, and it sucks because all the things I had lined up to that I was like, I'm gonna watch this over the summer. I'm gonna get all caught up. Yet another summer, I still have not seen the full Fast and the Furious franchise, and now it's over because like the season's here and.
We're out of time. I'm excited. I think it's tonight. I think maybe it's already out today. Superman is going to be on.
I do need to try to watch
the theater. I can't wait to check that one out too.
Yeah, without it.
All right. JJ Castillo wants to know, Trevor, what's your optimism on the Lakers this season? What are 3 big questions you have for the team this year? So I've talked about this a lot on Lakers Nation. I'll give you the truncated version here, but I do believe that we need to frame things appropriately with the Lakers this year. It's possible that they are a better basketball team this year, a more dangerous basketball team this year, but due to the state of the Western Conference, actually finish lower that they did last year. So it's just something to keep in mind when we look at a West that was separated 3 through 8 by 2 games. I'm prefacing that because I don't want people to overreact if they're the 6th seed and they win 49 games and go, oh my God, they fell from the 3rd seed to the 6th seed. Well, it's the Western Conference. Everything is compressed in the West. But I am optimistic. I do like the moves that they've made. I do think they're going to be aggressive this summer or this season. I mean, I do think they're going to be aggressive on the trade front. I think they believe they have a window with LeBron and Luka, and they're going to try to optimize that. As far as 3 big questions I've got for the team, the number one big one, it's the defense. Can they be passable on that side of the ball while they are looking for moves out there? That's going to be, I think, based on everything we can see and project from this roster, that's currently their Achilles heel. It would be the defensive side of things. Number 2 would, of course, be LeBron James going into his age 41 season. How long can he continue to defy the odds and just do the superhuman? But I'll tell you the third thing, the guy that I threw out there, my bold prediction was that it mentioned this yesterday or 2 days ago with Daniel Starkand, was that my X factor was going to be Jared Vanderbilt. But that was my bold prediction. I think my most likely X factor, it is DeAndre Ayton for the Lakers. And I don't feel great about that because I tend to shy away from bigs with motor concerns. But if we're ever going to see DeAndre Ayton become his final form, it's now in this environment, in this context, the motivation, playing with Luka. I think he's going to need to have a big year for the Lakers. So can DeAndre Ayton become even 80% of the guy that we thought he might be when he came into the NBA? That's going to be a big factor as well for these Lakers.
Yeah, I won't go nearly in depth, but DeAndre Ayton to me may be the single biggest.
Did you hear that?
No.
My whole house is shaking right now from that thunder.
Crazy.
Good Lord.
That's like a daily occurrence for us here in the afternoons. But it's I don't think there's a bigger swing factor in the entire NBA than DeAndre Ayton that isn't strictly health related.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Ayton is good to really good to better than that, the Lakers' ceiling goes way up. If DeAndre Ayton is out there and it's like a circus and a mess, the Lakers' floor drops out. It's simply because the Lakers there's outside of drastic injuries, there's no chance they're going to be bad. You just can't be bad with Luka and LeBron. Like, I can't see it. And by bad, I mean like 35 wins and not in the play-in tournament and, bad. But I think there is, because of the Western Conference, because of the age, because of the injury history, if Ayton is not really good, there's a chance the Lakers they're just okay. And it's like, they're fine. I completely agree with what you said about the idea of they could be a better team and finish lower in the standings. That happens sometimes. And the reality is, like, to some extent, they only care so much. As long as they're top 6, I think they'll probably be okay. Clearly, they'd rather be in the top 4 home court advantage and push for as high up the standings as they can get, just to make the path easier. But yeah, top 6, you just don't want to deal with being in the play-in tournament because stuff can happen in the play-in tournament. But yeah, I think Ayton is the single biggest swing factor in the league, because there's too many. There's so much unknown there, and it could go really awesome or it could be really bad.
All right, let's jump here.
Can we go to? We'll come back to that one.
Yeah.
Just because it's to knock out another quick Lakers question.
Lakers. No.
To get Keon Johnson, I mean, the reality is they don't have a roster spot right now that they can fill. Okay. That's the problem. Keon Johnson is dealing with some form of injury. We did find that out when he was waived. I don't think that's why the Nets waived him, even though that's been kind of put out there. But the Lakers' problem is they are just barely below the first apron hard cap. It's like $1 million or so, right?
1.1 million.
So not enough to sign a player right now. So that will be either another move will have to come to free up enough room. Same as like what we've heard talked about ad nauseum with the Knicks, or they'll just have to wait in season. And on Keon Johnson, that might be one where maybe we do have to wait a little bit into the season before he's healthy and ready to go. I don't hate the idea for them of going to get Keon Johnson, fairly solid defensive guard. The issue is he just can't shoot, and that starts to become a problem.
Yeah, especially in today's NBA. All right, I missed this super chat here. 5 seconds left. You're up 1.
15 seconds.
Oh, 15 seconds. Sorry, reading quickly. 15 seconds. Opponent has the last shot. Who would you put on their best player, assuming it's a guard or forward? Prime Kawhi. I think it matters whether it's a guard or a forward.
Yeah, for me, it's Kawhi.
I'm with you as well, but I could see if it is if you're talking about if the forward is, I don't know, just to throw out an example, if it's Zion Williamson, I think I'd rather put Draymond on him to deal with the physicality a little bit more. Yeah. But I do think if it's a guard, if it's Ja Morant, I'm absolutely going Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. It's for me, it's Kawhi, and that's no knock against Draymond Green. No. Draymond, unbelievable. I mean, if it's like Jokic, I'm probably going with Draymond, but like Kawhi is just so locked in. There's a whole argument happening about Irish Gaelic football in the chat today, which is I don't really understand it, but whatever. We can
All right. Okay, then. Thoughts on Lauri Markkanen's performance in Eurobasket, and will this indicate a bounce back year for him? I'll tell you what, if the percentages are a sign of what's to come, that was really where he dropped off last year, or at least significantly dropped off last year, was his percentage. And part of that was a bad Jazz team that struggled creating good looks. But if the percentages are an indication of what's to come and his shot making ability, I mean, we could very well see a bounce back year for Markkanen.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is he put up big time counting stats, but was not super efficient. I'm not going to knock him too much for that because he was playing on a very undermanned team with Finland against some really good teams. They had a great run, but 42% from the field, 30% from three. But a lot of that was self-created off the dribble stuff, and he can do that, but that's not what you really rely on him for. But yeah, as long as he kind of gets back to where he's always been as a shooter outside of last season, I think we could see him have a big time bounce back year. I hope we see that for his sake, for the Jazz's sake, if for no other reason, for his trade value.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he did have some really strong shooting performances, particularly when we look at the group stage. His first 3 games, 47% from the field, 59% from the field, 50% from the field. He did have some games where he tailed off, 38% against Greece, in that final, bronze game. So it did tail, but I think that we saw enough of the shot making from him where you hope that the percentages do, continue to trend up as we saw in some of those performances for Utah this year.
Let's do another question here, just because it's another Jazz question. We don't get a lot of Jazz talk, so let's do it. Of the 8 Jazz players drafted in the last 3 years, who is most likely to become an All-Star? For me, it's Ace Bailey. I don't think it's even close. I just, that's who I'm going to go with. I think Ace Bailey's going to be awesome. This is just something I say a lot. We got way too focused on the things Ace Bailey doesn't do and didn't show, and then stopped paying attention to the things that he did do and did show. And this kid's going to be really, really good.
So, Keith, every time we talk about Ace Bailey, this just shows how old I am. I can't help but think about Ace Frehley.
That's funny.
Most of the chat has no idea who that is. But,
man, that's sad because they should.
But they probably don't. I mean,
no, yeah, you're right. They probably don't.
They probably don't. All right, let's go here.
I thought you were going to go with Ace Ventura, but
that's a good one too.
Yeah,
that's good too. That was a great movie. Any update on the Russell Westbrook situation? He has to be the biggest free agent that's not restricted. Man, I mean, we kept hearing Kings.
Yeah,
and now here we are. I mean, training camp's opening up in a couple weeks, week and a half here, and Russ is still not on a team. Are we like how have the scales tipped to where now it is more likely than not that Russell Westbrook is not on an NBA roster when training camp starts?
Yeah, I think so. Because we're 2 weeks out for I mean, everybody will be back in the training camp on like the 30th, I think, or something like that. 30th first, like everybody will be full on in. And we're not going to do it now, we just don't have time. But if you, not saying Russell Westbrook doesn't deserve a spot in the NBA and that he's not better than a lot of the guys other like teams have.
Yeah.
But no one screams out as needing a point guard all that badly. Maybe Phoenix, but what kind of you get to a point of like, well, what's the point of that? Like, where's that going? If just go through, I mean, look for yourselves later when you have a chance. No one really needs point guards right now, whether it's true point guards or they have, they run their offense through like a wing or a forward or even a big. In some cases, there just aren't teams that scream out as in need of a on ball playmaker, which is what Russ is, because he gives you very little off ball.
Well, we mentioned, Malcolm Brogdon on a camp deal. Like, that's a sign of what the point guard market is looking like. And I think when you talk about how many teams need a point guard, you narrow that down even further when you talk about how many teams need a Russell Westbrook style point guard. I think the teams, if there was I always go to Jose Calderon as my archetype of the game manager style point guard, low turnover, low risk type guy. He's not necessarily going to win you a game, but he's not going to lose you games either. He's going to go out there, take care of the basketball, shoot a high percentage, do those things, be in the right spot at the right time. I think that type of player for what teams need out there or could use out there would be of more interest right now than a Russell Westbrook, who can be explosive, but can also have lots of other issues in terms of the turnovers, the shooting percentages, and things of that nature. So are you, of the teams who could even make the case that they need somebody in the backcourt, do they need a player like a Russell Westbrook where you have to design things around, or would it rather be a plug and play type that was just going to fit into what you already have planned? It's probably more the latter that they'd be looking for. So it's a tough spot to be in. That said, I mean, we saw it, unfortunately, the Miami Heat, Tyler Herro is now going to be out for the start of the season. I'm not suggesting the Miami Heat should get on the phone and call Russell Westbrook, but I could see a scenario where we see some type of an injury in a backcourt, and next thing you know, Russell Westbrook is the guy to fill that role.
Yeah, and that's probably at this point best for him too. wait until a team really needs you and then go there. Go there. Somebody said the Bucks don't need a point guard. Not really, and not one like Russ, because he's not going to play well off of Giannis. Like that's it. This isn't just about grabbing talent; it's about fit, and they are better off with. I know it sounds insane, but they're better off with guys like Ryan Rollins and Gary Trent junior and Gary Harris and Cole Anthony playing point guard, because they're not going to make plays like Westbrook would, but they'll hit open jump shots that Giannis creates, and they'll defend at a higher level than Russ does at this point in his career. That's why he's not on a roster somewhere, because you have to have a real need for his skill set, which is push pace, get you some points, get you some scoring. It's just not what he does.
All right, we've got a couple of questions left to get to, and we'll get there right after this. Great presenting sponsor for the Front Office Show is Sleeper. If you've ever heard of the Sleeper app, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats, plus a news feed. This is so critical for me. Get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, a real-time chat you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So download the #1 sports app today and experience it for yourself. If you can see, I've made a couple of season-long picks there. Some deep cuts. We've got Tyler Warren for the Indianapolis Colts. NFL season is here. I've got him more than 550.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to be a big part of that offense. And then Zach Charbonnet, essentially, I'm saying I don't think that Ken Walker is going to wind up staying healthy all season. I've got him more than 499.5 rushing yards. I think the opportunities will be there for Charbonnet. So click that link in the description down below. Use the promo code CAPSPACE, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, let's go here. Keith, who's the next Celtic to be moved other than Simons?
Of guys on the current roster, I will say Hayden Gray, because he has a training camp contract. Answering the question semi-seriously.
I was going to say, that's a cop out there.
I don't know. I really don't know. They are, let me make sure I have the number right here. They are about 4 million over the first apron now. Total about 12 million over the luxury tax. I think if there was a deal for Simons out there right now, it probably would have already happened. The teams don't really want to be making trades this close to training camp if you can avoid it, because the reality is, and I don't know if this is true of Simons or not, I haven't spotted him in any of the pictures the Celtics have been sharing of guys working out in the facility, but the vast majority of players are already back in their home markets working out in the facility doing their thing. That usually happens right around the end of Labor Day. For the guys who played in Eurobasket, they'll be filtering in really this week for those guys. So I'm just not sure that there's going to be a trade for Simons. I think they're probably going to keep him for a while, and then again it'll be, did a need develop for a team that really needs a shooter scorer, and then maybe they make the move then.
All right, let's go. Andrew said, Front Office Friday, have you subscribed yet?
Yeah,
That's
go.
right. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel,
and hit that like button.
Hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's go here. Ball saying, thoughts on Pablo Torre admitting there's no written out smoking gun. Does that change how the NBA decides if or how the Clippers are punished? And that's what we've been talking about. What is the burden of proof that has to be? Do they need like an email from Steve Ballmer with the title salary cap circumvention sending to aspiration? Hey, send this money to, I don't know what exactly needs to be meant here. But like you said, Keith, the more stuff comes out, the more fishy, I suppose it looks.
Yeah, there is specific language in the CBA that kind of calls out, like, the league doesn't have to have absolute proof So they don't need that email that says,
Right.
Go around the cap to pay the guy. They don't have to have that. If it's enough that something feels really off, that can be enough. Clearly, if they had that, well, then it's over. Then you're going into deep into it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just we'll see. Where that kind of comes together. I don't think it's going to necessarily change things, though. I think whatever the investigation comes up with, if it comes up with, this doesn't feel right, there will be punishment.
All right. So we've got a question here. When is media day? I guess it's going to depend on the team.
Some of them are next week.
Yeah.
Nets, Knicks, Sixers, Pelicans, Suns next Tuesday, the 23rd. And then the rest, I believe, are on like the 29th.
29th. Yep. That's it for the rest of them.
Yep. So we're 10 days out from the entire league being back to work.
God, I can't wait. And then we're on
30th will be when camps. What's that?
Then we're on
exactly. Watch. Yeah, muscle watch. Yeah, 10 pounds of muscle, that everybody adds. And
everybody's in the best shape ever.
For sure.
Yep.
It'll be best shape of my life. That's always fun. With that one. So we used to have a thing in Orlando in the off season, because remember the old Orlando Summer League was going on right as free agency opened, and we'd be like big men, tiny table, because they had these 7-foot guys sign on these insanely, ridiculously small tables, and I never really got it or understood it, but yeah, so that was like the running joke was like, oh, it's big man, tiny table season.
That's whatever it takes to get it done. All right, everybody.
There was one other one. I'm sorry, I wanted to do very quickly. Or maybe we did get to all of them. Maybe I didn't mark off.
Are you sure we did?
Yeah, I think we did. Like we got to all the ones we marked. Yeah, a lot of people saying NBA season right around the corner. Yeah, I mean we are like we're pretty much there now. It is.
Let's do it.
This will be like the last weekend of like kind of quiet, and then we go forward from there. It is fun. I mentioned it when we were talking about Anthony Simons. It is fun watching the teams, like they release like all these, like whether they be pictures or video snippets of guys working out, and you look at them, you're like, oh, cool, like guys in the facility working out, and then I immediately start looking for guys in the background, like who's in the background of
right,
it, especially like if it was
who else is there,
a new player, who else is there? So that's always kind of fun. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Somebody said Neemias Queta is the guy the Celtics are going to trade. I don't think so. They don't have enough at center to be looking at trading him. And after super strong Eurobasket, he's probably going to be Boston's starting center this season. That's not.
He was good at Eurobasket.
He was really good. So we'll see. With that. So saying that Celtics should tank, they're not going to do that. I like this one. Keith, keep talking. Don't let Trevor leave. It's Friday. Work is done. And I'm bored. Well, you're going to have to find something else to do. Trevor and I have something else we have to get off to. So we're going to wrap this one. But guys, we're back. We're here.
Yes.
We're going.
So
it's,
ready.
We'll can't guarantee we'll have 5 shows next week. We'll see what the week brings. But we're very close to being back with you guys every day of the week. Look at Ryan comes in right at
the buzzer.
Is Aaron Nesmith a attainable trade target for the Lakers? Maybe. You'd have to give up probably one of the first to get him, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Pacers need to extend Mathurin, which means they would want to capitalize on Nesmith. Yeah, I mean, I like Nesmith a lot. He's the type of player they should be targeting. Is 100%. He all that available? I don't know. And frankly, negotiations between the Pacers and Lakers haven't historically gone that great. So yeah, I don't know what that looks like.
Yep. All right. Last one. Who's on the Golden State Warriors to start training camp? Could be you. Bring your sneakers to the practice facility.
I was talking the other day to somebody who covers the Warriors a couple days ago. I was talking, and he said, man, I think they're about to send me a jersey because they can't even play 5-on-5 right now. They got 9 players.
I had a conversation with one of their beat writers. They're like, well, the good news is media day will be over in about 25 minutes.
Right.
It'll be Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, and then quick questions for the other guys, and we'll all be home in time for lunch. Never mind dinner. So, Yeah. Could show
Oh,
up at the
man.
practice facility with your hoop gear, and you
And be ready to go.
might throw you at least a camp deal.
All right, everybody. On that, have a phenomenal weekend. We appreciate all of you. Of course, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.